two chapters today, and that would be Snape Victorious and the Half-Blood Prince. And as you can see by the chapter video title, the more things change, the more they stay the same. That is to say that we are experiencing these characters growing and developing, sure, but we are also running into the key features of them and things that aren't going to change even with the war coming. Okay. Oh, this is going to be interesting, because right now, of course, it's a lot of combination of past knowledge and foreknowledge towards the last book. But we have things that are changing. For example, we've now got Snape moving into the Defense Against the Dark Arts position, which was one of Harry's best classes, and it's now become that place that is going to basically be hell for him. Same with Neville. Poor Neville. Utterly terrified of the man. There is an issue when one of your professors is a boggart. And not just... well, there's an issue when, like, failing school is also your boggart for Hermione. But I mean, literally, when one of your professors just terrorizes you and torments you to the point that he is your greatest fear, that's an issue. But that's sort of the interesting thing is, as these things are changing, it's a question of whether or not our characters are going to change with them to adapt, or if what they already have is going to be enough to succeed. So when we have these moments of both Harry's restraint and Harry's non-restraint, that should be something we should pay attention to. For example, when Snape is walking Harry up to the castle and just sniping him constantly, Harry's actually very restrained. He recognizes that this is a position that Snape wants to be in. He wants to get this chance to just torment Harry before things go the way they go. And he actually doesn't rise to the bait on that one, because he recognizes sort of the push and pull that they've had. But then what happens is Snape then comes into an area that Harry considers his own, and that is Defense Against the Dark Arts. And just like Umbridge, Snape is going to start coming on to Harry, and Harry is going to defend his territory, his safe space, by these snide comments, even as he's also pushing himself to actually achieve what's been set out for him. So we are getting this idea that Harry is growing up as a person, but he's never going to lose completely just that edge of sass to him that lets him deal with these moments of invasion and torment. He's always going to be the person that snap judgment says, "You don't have to call me, sir." Even when he knows deep down he shouldn't. That is part of who he is. Just like in walking up to the castle, he recognizes in a really unfortunate way that Snape's attitude is who Snape is, and that's not going to change. So he can recognize the blame both in himself for the death of Sirius, but he can also recognize the moments where other people's attitudes came into play. And the thing is, the reason why he's willing to blame Snape is because Snape isn't showing any remorse whatsoever. Harry can't turn around and blame someone like Tonks, because she is utterly destroying herself. It seems to be over just Sirius. We of course know that there are other issues. Snape now has that information, considering that her Patronus has changed. But Snape's willing to take pot shots at somebody who is obviously deeply concerned and upset. And so Harry sort of recognizes, okay, this is who you are. And straight up, that's not a positive thing. So Harry's not willing to change himself fully for Snape because he recognizes Snape's not going to do anything to change himself either. Neville's going to start developing because, oh god, because that's sort of the same thing that's happened. His gran is sort of saying, this is who you are, and he's looking at her saying, you're not going to change. Maybe I should change. And hopefully, with the help of McGonagall and some of his friends, he'll change sort of the way he prefers. Straight up, like, McGonagall straight up says, like, yeah, no, your grandmother failed charms, and maybe I should remind her of that fact, and remind her that it doesn't mean that charms is flawed. We can help each other develop, and it's a question of how we're doing that. Are we doing it in a positive way, like McGonagall seems to be doing, or in a negative way, like Snape seems to be doing? And that's sort of the interesting thing, because then we run into this textbook, which is going to help Harry develop in what seems to be a positive way, that we know is actually written by Severus as a young man. So it becomes this interesting thing about how different time periods and moments can actually connect in different ways than their present moments can. Just as Snape's memories can affect Harry, and Harry's view on his father, Snape's own writing can actually change Harry's view on potions. And that's sort of one of the interesting things, is in theory, Snape's lesson should interest people about the subject, and make them want to learn things, and make them not want to destroy each other's potions, and make them want to do well. His lessons aren't, but him as a young man and his serious interest in this subject and this experimentation and these changes, this development, what he had shows us again that there seems to be something that's changed. From this deep passion to this derision in teaching it. It's a very odd difference, because he seems to have this passion when talking about the defense against the dark arts, or as Harry points out, the dark arts. Hermione very smartly points out that Snape sounds a lot like Harry in that moment. And again, that's a development. You're bits and pieces of all the people you meet. And it's fascinating to actually watch, because these characters are changing, but there are certain things that are going to stick with them. And Harry's edge of sass, Snape's tendency to just snipe constantly, the possibility of simple things like the defense against the dark arts curse, which means we'll only have him in this position for 1 year. Things like that are constants even as they develop. And it's just fascinating to watch. Quick part 2, the notes from the Half-Blood Prince, and Ginny's response. Ginny, of course, is having flashbacks to the Tom Riddle diary in her first year, and gets angry at Harry in a lot of ways that Hermione does as well, for listening to this. That is a slippery slope, because straight up, that's what all books are. Yeah, no, it's straight up what all books are. It's words on a page. Can we just write off all books and burn them all? No. No. The question is, how logical are you going to be about making these risks? Because Ron is right. Every now and then you do have to make risks. Harry goes a little too far in using a spell that he doesn't know on a person at one point. We'll get there. But straight up, that's gonna be a question you're always gonna have to take. Like, that's a risk you have to take when you're reading something. Oh no, I know who the author is. Cool. Does that honestly mean that you know, like, who the author is and their intentions? Because straight up, Harry and Ginny thought they knew who Tom Riddle was, and they were dead wrong about that. Same with Harry's gonna think he's figured out this Half-Blood Prince kid. He's gonna be wrong about it. But straight up, cool. Homer, we legit don't know who he is. Does that mean we're gonna stop reading the Iliad and the Odyssey? No. There are books that are anonymous authors. Are we gonna stop reading Beowulf? No. So in this moment of utter anger, notably also one of the people really angry, the bookworm? Pick your battles. Warn him to be cautious, but don't get angry at him. When in truth, you reading textbooks is basically the same thing right now. They're all written by humans, and all humans are not perfect. They're fallible. They're gonna make mistakes. Straight up, you can read a textbook that's gonna tell you, like, exactly how to do something. That textbook might be wrong. That textbook might be old. There might be better ways of doing it. That's just a risk you're gonna have to take. I don't approve of Harry's use of the spell on Draco. One, because he doesn't know what it does. And two, because don't test these things on people. But do I disagree with him taking the risk and trying these different instructions? No. I can't be mad at, like Ginny and Hermione are. That's reading. It happens like that. Okay, I'm going to finish up very quickly. I am currently expecting a guest. And a phone call, apparently. So I'm going to keep reading, and I hope you do too. See you next time.